Good evening, everybody. Keith here. Hoping everybody's having a good day. Enjoying life, living life, loving life. Wanted to get on tonight and find out what people, what kind of principles and stuff people are standing on. Because you always hear about, I don't understand because I don't stand under you, I overstand. And let's get over all that first, find out what your standing is. You know, what determines what your concepts and beliefs are. You know, what choices do you make through this thing here, through your head? And do they stem from the heart? Do they come from the heart and then go to the head? And then once you discern all the emotions and logic and ration and reason and everything, then you can act upon it. Then you can move. You can motion, motate. So let's talk about what this is first. What's the head? And in most basic sense, most people think about that as the cranium. So let's look and see what a cranium is. Cranium, of course, is the skull. Okay? Well, if that's the skull, that's the hard bony part. That's the thing that protects what's inside. And when we think about something that protects something inside, somebody could simply put a cap on. A cap. And now the cap holds your hair to your head. So this is a captain. Tain, Latin for hold. So this here is not just a cap, it's a captain. It's a captain. In that same sense, this right here, the skull, that's the captain. That's the cap that holds what's inside. And here it says, the skull of a human being, early 15th century, cranium, from medieval Latin, cranium. Skull, from Greek, cranion, Kranion. Skull, upper part of the head, related to kara, poetic, cross. Head, from the pi root ker, K-E-R, and it says horn. Okay? Horn. The bony case which encloses the brain. Now, sorry about that, folks. When it comes to that horn, we're going to think, right now we're thinking about, you know, these modern times. We see everything done according to Roman customs, including our laws and everything. And when we look at the Roman helmet, the cap that encased their head and protected their head, we see this thing on it. Now from a side view it doesn't look so much like a horn, but when we look at it from the front view, it looks like a little nub of a horn there. And as we get more to a frontal view, it looks like, you know, this feather plumage looks more like a horn. There's some that even are actually very distinct horn. Okay. Now, before we go any further, let's talk about this horn and the cranium and what all it's attached to. You heard me ask about, you know, when you motate and you motion and you move, what causes that? You know, the thoughts through your head and the emotions that come from your heart. It's all of a process. Okay? All of that process is motivating you to do things. And a man's primary motion is contained through his, what we know as a soul, his feet. Okay? This is what moves us back and forth and side to side, and wherever we want to go. If it's in circles, so be it. But where does that stem from? Where does that stem from? We've only got 2 feet to keep our balance. You see, a lot of creatures, the land animals, have 4 feet and a tail. Most of them have some kind of a tail, as by their body is a vessel. Okay? And each part of the vessel has its name and its importance. And so when we think of a vessel, though, we think of a ship. And when we think of ships, we think back to Phoenician is generally one of the first people that had some kind of ships, along with Chinese. And, of course, there's a lot of discrepancy and stuff about that. But we're going to stick with, right now, just for an example, the Phoenicians, Greeks, Romans, things like that. Their shipbuilding took on a particular form. And as we see here, we see the ship. And if most people are familiar with the ship, this is the bow. The front is the bow, or the stern. The front is the stern. The back is the bow. And then we see here a horn. Horn-looking thing. This here is a Chinese ship, and it doesn't have the horn type thing. So it's a different culture, but through the Phoenician, Roman, Greek, things like that. And again, here we see this one, and it's got a big horn on it. We look at this one here, and I want to point something else out. We see this one here actually has a horn down here with another horn here and here. And look, it looks like an eye there almost. But then look at this here. This is the stern. And then we've got the horns. This is the body of the vessel, the hold. This is the chain. This is what holds the cargo. And then we see back here at the bow, and it looks just like a fishtail. The tail. Okay? And this is just a very important concept to realize in regards to our own vessel, and how we talk about the cranium, the sternum, the bow, the back, and then we have the tailbone, we have the arms, we have the legs. And when we look at this, this is, let me go back here to the camera and show you. This is from a page in regards to ships. Like I said, vessels. Most people think of ships when we think of a vessel. And it says ship figurehead. And when we think of a ship figurehead, we think about that thing along that horn in modern day ships that have like maybe an archangel or something. And that's what we think of the ship figurehead. So we know what the head is. We've already discussed the head. The head is what's in the cap. It's what the cap holds. What's the figure? Do you guys know the definition of figure? Figure. A number, especially one which forms part of official statistics or relates to the financial performance of a company. And here they happen to use official census figures. Statistic, number, integer, quantity, amount, level, total. And of course there's many more. A person's bodily shape, especially that of a woman, and when considered to be attractive, she had always been so proud of her figure. Verb, be a significant and noticeable part of something. Calculate or work out. Oops. Okay. Guess what? Figure. Anything with form. Anything with form has a certain shape or figure. Anything with form. Oops. Does your name have a form? What form is your name in? Everything has a form. Anything with a form. So, a number is a figure. Isn't a name a figure? What's a name? Isn't a name just a symbol? What's a symbol? Isn't a symbol just a mark? What's a mark? Is that a logo? A brand? What is it? What does the word figure stand for? Numeral, visible appearance of a person. A diagram or political illustration of textual matter. Remember what I was saying? Words, names. Everything written on a piece of paper is a figure. So let's figure this out. All right, people? So, back to what I was saying in regards to the cranium and how it connects to the rest of the body and everything. So we've got this cranium. We know it's a skull. It's a cap. It's a hold. It's what holds the matter inside. And it gets a signal from here, an electronic signal from the heart pulse, the heartbeat. See, when you're first created and you're in mom's womb and that fetus is just starting out, you first get a heartbeat before you get a brain. So everything's got to come from the heart first. Once it goes to the brain, then it can go out. Okay? And like I said, we've got the cranium, the sternum, the bow. What is that bow? When we think of the bow, we think about the tailbone. And we're going to go back to the visual here. Because remember I spoke about earlier the tailbone. In man, that's your tailbone right there. Just a simple tailbone. And it's called the coccyx. The coccyx is the triangular bony structure located at the bottom of the vertebral column. It is composed of 3 to 5 bony segments held in place by joints and ligaments. And this is where I talk about ligaments. That takes oil, not moisture, folks. So think about your diet and make sure you remember the proper oils that you need to take. The majority of coccyx injuries occur in women because the female, let's see here, because the female pelvis is broader and the coccyx is more exposed. Okay? Coccyx is a small bone that articulates with the sacrum. Remember this one. We're going to go to this one next. Sacrum. And that usually consists of 4 fused vertebrae which form the terminus of the spinal column in humans and tailless apes. Okay? Remember that word sacrum? Oops, wrong one. Here we go. Sacrum, right here. This is the sacrum. One hip bone goes this way, one hip bone goes this way. This is coccyx down here. The one with all the holes in it, the holy bone. The holy bone. Check this out. Mid-18th century. Sacrum, origin, Greek, Latin. Mid-18th century from Latin, os sacrum. Translation of Greek, heron osteon, sacred bone. Sacred bone, from the belief that the soul resides in it. The holy bone. So let's talk about the holy bone. What's attached to this side again, and what's attached to this side again? The hips. What's attached to those hips? This leg and that leg. Guess what balances everything in the human body once it receives its signal to go into action? The sacrum. The sacred bone is a balance to your entire vessel, people. It is believed that that's where the soul sits. So when you sit down, you mind your soul. When you stand up, you mind it ever so much more. Ever so much more. Remember we were talking about tailless apes? In regards to the coccyx, that tailbone, tailless apes. We're going to go into caudal now because remember I spoke earlier about four-legged animals. Four-legged animals have a caudal vertebrae. After what we know as the tailbone, they have extensions after that tailbone that are called caudal vertebrae, which makes up the tail, of or like a tail, at or near the tail or the posterior part of the body, the caudal vertebrae. Caudal fin in fish. Remember, I showed you this. The caudal fin on a ship, on the old ships. The horn on the cranium. The horn. So think about this stuff, people. What is it in you that gives you the standing that you have? Do you know what your standing is? Do you comprehend what's written in your heart through the proper processing of emotions, logic, and reason, and then act upon it? What is your motivation? What is your motive to get you up off your ass so that your soul can move and boogie and speak the gospel of his boots? What is it? Is it their legislated word that tells you got to sit in your house and isolate and social distance? Or is it his word that you're supposed to greet your mother, your brothers and sisters in kindness? What is your standing? Or are you going to sit as they tell you? But remember, people, don't think that I'm trying to get you to get up off your ass and go out in the streets and protest. No. I'm trying to get you to think about what's really written here so that you can express it freely and properly from here as an extension of your soul as you get up off that ass. Excuse my language, folks. But like I've said before, somebody calls me an asshole, I got to look them straight in the eye and say, let's get it straight. I'm not an asshole. I'm the whole ass. I've got to be. Because that's my standing. This is about as long as I want to make this one. If you want to go ahead and review it, it's kind of short. It's only about 20 minutes long. One of my shorter ones lately. But that's only because I'm going to be coming back in a little bit. And before I do, when I get done here, I'm going to post my PayPal link. So please hit that PayPal link and send me some love. And I'm going to come back in a little bit and we're going to talk about our Lord's Prayer. Along with the trust that is already the original trust expressed in Genesis 1 and 2. And how to correlate Isaiah 54 as an expression of the new covenant. So, see me back in a little bit with that one. In the meantime, thanks for watching. And remember, folks, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be doing this. Think about things from your heart so you can comprehend how to stand properly. Oh, and before I go, let me explain the last point I wanted to make about this video. One of the most important points I wanted to make. In regards to the Ten Commandments, think about it. In the resonant frequency of trying to get back to your nature, okay? When we think from our heart and we take the spirit of our heart and we process it properly and we can stand correctly, we do so by remembering the first 3 commandments. Because we're supposed to love our Father, love nothing above our Father in heaven. We're supposed to honor our father and honor our mother. And while we think about this cranium and sternum and bow and tailbone and the caudal extension of the cat's tail and the tiger's tail and all these different animals that have these tails and the birds that have the tail feathers, and they use them for balance. Like I said, that sacrum bone is your balance bone between your hips. And when you learn to stand properly in nature and you take off them rubber soles and allow your soul to actually connect with the true inherent power of the second commandment of love, honoring thy father and honoring thy mother. And you can receive all those electrical charges and get a better balance in your life. And you use your feet as that center of balance so that by the time it gets up here, your head isn't acting like a microwave. You can balance it yourself. You can center yourself, top to bottom. And you don't need to look when you sit down. It's inherent. Every action you do is instinctual. The more you practice it, just like a bike, the better you get at it. And believe you me, people, I've been Tom Sawyer, Huck Finn in it for a long time, and I'm telling you what, you walk along enough muddy riverbanks, doesn't matter how good you get, you're still going to fall down, even if you're a professional. There are things that are going to come along in life that are going to put you right on your ass. Did it really hurt your soul that bad that you can't get back up? Did it really hurt your ass so bad that you can't get back up? So think about this, people. In that third part of the Ten Commandments, in loving thy neighbor as thyself, when you see your brothers fall, help them up. Okay? Because again, remember, if it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be doing this. I already fell, said I'm done, I'm going to start building back up. Ain't nobody going to be able to put me back down except myself. And that's when I've got to realize all I got to do is get back up. Ain't nobody holding me down. So again, if it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be doing this. When I get done here, I'm going to post that PayPal link. Please hit that and help me out. And I'll be back in a little bit, like I said, with another video on our Lord's Prayer and some other things to correlate. Meantime, God bless. Thanks. Love you. Bye.